Mrs. Gel is all about infection prevention and each individual learning more about what that means. I was fortunate and unfortunate to lose a loved one in 2002 to a hospital acquired infection. And I learned a few years later, whilst I was at university, that I really didn't know much about infection prevention. When I'd go and visit my gran, who was called Violet, I would go and see her, and I would obviously go and take her flowers, and I would sit on her bed, and I would try to comfort her in different ways. But actually, looking back, there was a number of things around infection prevention that I could have been doing to make sure I wasn't spreading germs around a hospital and taking germs out of a hospital. So I became really fascinated about this subject, wrote a dissertation on it, and as a creative guy and a media guy, I wanted to look at how we could improve systems around the hospital to make infection prevention much more obvious to the people passing in and out of hospital each day who didn't have any training in infection prevention. So we're 15, 16 years on, and we've been hit by this pandemic last year, and we're still in the middle of it. And I believe it's really an opportunity now for us all to take a step back and to look at how do we teach ourselves infection prevention? What are the systems? What are the courses? What can we do to make sure that children growing up now and people in school, university, college, travelling around in public places are continually learning about infection prevention? Because the more I learn about infection prevention and what I can do, the more relaxed I become around the subject of viruses and germs and infections. And even though there's always going to be a risk in the world, my confidence has skyrocketed as a result of teaching myself over the last 15, 16 years in infection prevention. So what we're trying to do here at Mrs. Gel and Friends is we're trying to make that subject more fun, more soft, to reduce the anxiety around it. And we hope that you will get involved with us and find out more and partner with us and look to license our characters and look to work with us so we can integrate those characters inside your businesses. Because every single system in society now needs to change and it needs to improve. And whether we're thinking about ventilation in hospitals or healthier buildings, or we're looking at uniforms being worn in and out of healthcare environments, and whether that is a risk to people's health because that might bring in germs, or whether we're looking at what we know as individuals or what we know as groups around simple skills like not touching our face, if we can help it, all of these systems now are going to be turned on their head. And the public and individuals are going to look to businesses and governments to give them that knowledge. So at Mrs. Gel and Friends, even though we're a very small organisation, we want to be leading that. We want to be working with people like yourselves who are forward thinking and thinking, right, this is a real opportunity now to not only move the subject of infection prevention up the agenda, which it obviously is, but for that to convert into something meaningful so that each individual coming out of this and each individual being born and growing into this becomes part of a society that understands the risk of germs, that understands that we can defend ourselves against germs and we have to work with germs and viruses and infections, and that we can't just kind of give ourselves false hope around dates because germs won't respect what the human mind puts on a situation. They only know how to spread and to cause such devastation. So Mrs. Gel and Friends, we are trying to have a conversation, and we're trying to have a conversation in a safe way where people can learn and they can develop and they can feel okay that they don't know much about infection prevention. I'm still learning. I've got so much more to learn. But as I said at the beginning, you meet some incredible people along the way and you realise your own power when you start to learn and layer up these infection prevention skills. So this is what Mrs. Gel is about, Mrs. Gel and Friends. We hope you'll stay and have a little look around or get in touch. We're just in the process of getting some fantastic new resources put together, updating our characters, and getting ready to reach out to businesses to build partnerships. And we want to make Mrs. Gel and Friends the core characters that people think of when they think of infection prevention education, and a safe place to come and have a conversation and to teach their children about infection prevention and hand washing and all of the various things that go along with it. So I will stop talking, and here is a little bit of the last 15, 16 years as I've tried to move this subject up the agenda and make this top of people's minds.
And I don't know if anyone's ever going to see this. And now the tape's flashing to tell me it's run out. So I've taken that emotion and I've created this project in the hope that possibly one day someone's grandmother or grandfather or brother or sister or mother or father will not get an infection which leads to a fatality, because of the knowledge that my workshop and my idea has brought to them. And so even if we just educate these 30 children, although I believe with what we've got we will go on to educate a lot more, we've actually created something pretty amazing, if I must say so myself. Because as I sat here 6 months ago on this couch and said, how do I have an effect on society? How am I going to do it? How do I have a positive influence? Tomorrow we do it. We may do it on a minute scale, but we are teaching 30 people 5 things they don't know, 5 things which potentially could save however many lives.
Today's workshop, we're going to be using UV light boxes to see how well you know how to wash your hands.
I've got this ill guy that you shouldn't really go into a hospital when you're ill. He's sneezing without a tissue. He hasn't washed his hands. He hasn't washed them very well. He's picking his nose, as Louis said.
Did you know those things before though? Very good. So you'll remember that?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
My nan's in hospital at the moment, so...
Your nan?
Yeah.
Oh, so this will be good practice for you.
Yeah.